You have no right to celebrate the Langvecka without me, a tear-struck Leith yelled at Dresden. I'm dead. You never cared anything about me at all. A Hessian girl with a cracked skull pointed harshly. That's what he does. He doesn't care about anyone. Starting toward Leith, Dresden pled. That's not true. I loved you. I still love you. He noticed his hand, covered in sand-speckled rags. They extended up his arms. With no clues to reveal how they'd got there, he found he was entirely covered. Faceless Merlin stared at him in horror. Enraged, the three drew weapons and chased him through the streets of Parnsilia. Finally, the open door of Nanock's manor house promised safety. That was, until the master himself barred the door. His looming bulk blocked the way. Eyes glared in accusation. You failed, the impossibly fierce high priest growled, becoming more of a monstrous ape than a hero of the faith. Dresden shot upright at the sound of bells. Mother of the dead. It's just breakfast, Karen sat up in the bunk next to him. What's wrong with you? You look like you've run a mile. Hello and welcome to Kind's Point. This is Dresden's Tale, episode 45, chapter 43 of volume 2. This is the show where we follow Dresden Fane, a dwarf with a cause, 'cause he's kind of grumpy and a little depressed. Our story exists in the violence of the Keld culture. It's a land of suffering and glory, with great prices on riverfront timeshares. I'm your guide on this pleasure cruise, Lewis Nichols, and that's enough of that. Before we lose momentum, let's pull up the anchors and dive back in. It's the high holy day of Athelia, Ebba's 16th, 2052 years after the fall. Memories of the dream were already fading. Something about giant apes and Leith. I always let everybody down. Come on, mongrel slayer. Karen pulled off her wool sleeping clothes and hesitated. Swinging her breasts around towards Dresden, she gave him a lopsided grin. Unless you wanna... No, I don't. Get those things away from me. Ralph had his leathers only half on. I'm game. Shut up. I don't do reptiles. The pterodon squawked. You don't do reptiles. He doesn't do humans. Nobody is ever getting any action around here. The small band of would-be warfighters dressed and grabbed their gear. It was a short trek to the canal where they found bowls of porridge waiting with their shovels. If there was talk, and there was always talk, dream-weary Dresden ignored it and tried to think of nothing at all. At least the townspeople are working along with us. Dresden waited until after lunch to break his silence. They'd been promised a big meal later in the afternoon. Hard work is a good show of faith. Donald swung a pick, slowly breaking up an outcropping of stubborn stone. They said it would be an early day. There'll be games later. I don't care for games. Working is just fine, Dresden tried to maintain his bad mood. It is a high holy day, Liz told him. You'll offend Athelia. Dresden grunted. Athelia appreciates hard work, just like the rest. Orrin pulled on a heavy iron bar, trying to break a section of granite away. You can work. I'll eat. I thought you were getting better. Dwarves are masters at suffering, Ralph pointed out. Karen blasted the stone with a heavy maul. Leave him be. It's nice to see that some people are still willing to put their hearts on the line. Won't happen again, Dresden assured her. You know, we're below the level of the river, Ralph pointed out after a brief silence. If it breaks through, we're all as good as dead. Drowning is a shitty way to go. Is there a good way to go? Donald asked. Karen smashed into the stone again and again, keeping rhythm with some drummer she could hear but could not see. Damn right. In battle. Outnumbered and desperate. Dying a hero is better than living in the mud. Or making babies. Ralph laughed. Karen intentionally missed her mark, sending a spray flying. Thanks. Liz scraped a big blob off her face and flung it back at her. Karen dodged most of it. No problem. You're still too pretty. Later, The 5 dingy warriors gathered food and found a place to settle. Someone high in the town's government decided the hundreds of laborers had earned their place at the high holy day feast. The rest of the day was to be filled with food, drink, and entertainment. High up the steps of a large amphitheater, the Stone Clan party tried to relax. Lucky we got here on the Lang Vecca. There's as much eating as working, Donald said. Yeah, that's us. Always lucky, Ralph snapped back. Lucky to be together. We'll find our glory on Vool, Orrin told Karen. The 6 of us will make the core of a new fighting team. We'll recruit more warriors and drive the Iterians before us. Donald chuckled. Why would you think we'll be allowed to do that? Karen sighed. Let him dream, Tianist. Fact is, I'm going to have to find some detachment of the militia if I'm going to stay out of trouble at home. Sorry about that. Probably my fault, Ralph told her. I, on the other hand, am more than happy to join in any such endeavor, sanctioned or not. Dresden didn't even think to consider the future except to wallow in the knowledge they'd all probably be better off without him. Instead, he listened to a bard go on about the might of the Campbells. 36 miles up this river, barely a day away, the great city of Camberg sits high in a mountain valley. The great chief sees over the weighty dealings of the most populous clan of the Kelds. Great temples soar into the cliffside heights. All the clans call this home, the grandest city, the city in the jungle. It's non-entertainment, it's indoctrination, Donald suggested. Dresden plopped a ball of spiced meat into his mouth and spoke around it. Everybody has a right to their opinion. Donald didn't answer, fighting off a twinge of guilt. However, I'm pretty sure the Stone Clan has more members by a substantial count. Exactly. This guy is full of shit. They sat and watched as runners came into the complex below. It was the completion of a race Dresden didn't even know was running. According to a shouting priest he could barely make out, they'd begun the race that morning, running something called the Grand River Road from Camberg. Next, he almost found himself cheering as a tug-of-war contest played out. By the time a 1,000-yard sprint was being run, he was standing, silently rooting for a long-legged Monkey who came in just behind a trio of Equirta. Orrin caught Dresden's attention. You know, I'm not too attached to the rest of our little team, but there is a center of learning in Brave Rock. My thought is we associate ourselves with them, the best of both worlds. We train, we fight, we win. That's fine, Cat. We're not too attached to you either yet, Liz snorted. Doesn't matter to me, except for the fighting part. Stuck digging ditches just 36 miles away from it. A thought was working its way around Dresden's head, but he couldn't quite pin it down. If we stay together, so be it. If not, then we find our own way. We're just 5 nobodies in a great big world. People better than us will decide our fate. Donald kept going on, but Dresden fought to remember. It was impossible without even knowing what the fleeting memory might have concerned. Hey, look at this, he pointed down where a half-dozen cattle were being led into the amphitheater floor. Their handlers kept a firm grip on the ropes. They seemed agitated, hard to control. I bet you they've got burrs stuck under those blankets strapped around them. Ralph, watch this. You'd have missed out on this being from Manelia. Behind the bulls came a line of 12 youth, ranging in ages from 10 to 15. They all held spears. Fight and become men, Dresden yelled. Take ownership in your clan. Why are they all boys? Karen complained. I ought to go down there and challenge one of those guards to a fight. I'll show the Campbells what women are good for. Shh, Dresden hushed her. He let out a whoop as the handlers let the animals loose and got out of their way. The boys split into groups, the oldest holding back to let the younger ones make the first move. Kill them and the clan eats beef tonight, someone yelled. A young Tagara stepped toward a gray-furred bull, jabbed, and withdrew. 2 other boys went after the same one, causing it to bellow in pain. The others caught up in the blooding, and the slaughter began. Cattle ran for the steps as the event was allowed to become intentionally chaotic. Dresden stood and waved his arms as one of the bovines came their way, driving it back towards the children. Push through the ribs, Donald urged a nearby participant. A well-placed strike will kill in a single stroke. Dresden laughed. So, you save heretics, but you don't care for cattle? You might be able to convert one. As a boy jammed his spear deep in the bull's chest, Donald snorted. Maybe I'll try. Be a damn sight more pleasant than traveling with you. Ha! Tease, tease, and more tease. What are your bets? Are they all going to stick together? Is this the birth of a great band of heroes, or just a brief moment where lives cross only to untangle just as quickly? Leave me your thoughts in the comments. Maybe we'll just take up with Karen and leave Dresden behind. Hopping into the YouTube time machine for a second, this is a big week for me. Merry Christmas! This is the holidays, and I'm taking a little time off. Been a while since I've had more than a long weekend, and now I'm staring down 11 days off in a row, and they're all for you. The channel was damn near put out of commission by a hot summer and a bout of laziness, but we're back on top. If everything is working out, it's almost summer again. I have big plans for more shorts, more nuts and bolts, and of course, the continuation of the tale. But we're not going to get there by talking about it. I'm glad you stopped by. You didn't have to listen, but you did, and I appreciate it. Do the stuff. Like, subscribe, comment, tell your friends. I'm Lewis Nichols, and I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful day.